Hello everyone. With Shadow of the Erdtree just a few days away, I thought I'd make a video that's kind of just a hodgepodge of different theories that I have that I hope the DLC proves right. Hopefully they all come true, but I would honestly be happy if just one of them is kind of close. So here are 7 theories I have before the Shadow of the Erdtree drops. Theory 1. Mesmer is going to be the enemy of the Erdtree. So lots of people think that in this war that was referenced in the trailer, he's fighting on behalf of the Erdtree since he's probably Marika's son. But I think that it's going to be the opposite. In Elden Ring, fire magic always means that you are against the Erdtree, and I don't see why Mesmer would be any different. The trailer has a line about the war happening without grace that really does strike me as kind of odd, because the Erdtree's armies don't have much problem committing similar atrocities. Maybe the Erdtree itself was even fighting on behalf of its shadow to keep the balance or something and ended up losing. And then they purged the record of the war and sealed away the Shadowlands in order to save face. Maybe that's even why the Erdtree stopped producing sap and entered a decline period. Or maybe fire might just end up symbolizing being against giant trees in general. It really depends how they want to take that metaphor. Theory 2. The Golden Order is actually the fate that is set forth by the Greater Will. Most people think that the Golden Order is like the government of the Lands Between, or maybe the laws of the Elden Ring, or even a kind of philosophy, but I'm not sure that I buy that. The way that people talk about the Golden Order doesn't make a whole lot of sense if it's just a way of thinking or a set of laws. Why does Corrin thank the church when he finds the gold mask? They didn't help him, and even if they did, wouldn't it make more sense to thank the Greater Will or the Erdtree or whatever the church worships? Because that's never even clearly stated. Why would the founder and leader of a church say that they're done with blind faith and will discover the secrets of the church? What secrets? Marika is an almost omnipotent god who made the church and it's been the leader the whole time. What secrets could have possibly been kept from her? I think it makes more sense if the Golden Order is something closer to God's plan than the church. Gold is the color or the power of the god, and order is the plan of the god. Marika is simply tired of believing in God's plan and wants to figure out what the true nature of the greater will is. Fate in general is omnipresent in the Lands Between, and I don't think that it gets talked about enough. It's one of the first things that's mentioned to the Tarnished when they arrive. The Elden Ring can control destiny, and characters will literally move heaven and earth in order to change their fate, especially Mikla. And that's because Theory 3, fate is a trap. I think the reason the system seems to have changed from almost everyone's fate being determined by the stars to almost everyone's fate being determined by an outer god is a matter of control. If the greater will controls everyone's fate, then no one can rise up to challenge it. That's almost certainly why Ronnie had to destroy her body in order to escape her fate. I think that you give an outer god control of your fate by letting them infect your body in some way. For the god of scarlet rot, it's catching scarlet rot. For the three fingers, it's letting them burn you and accepting their flame into your flesh. And for the greater will, I think it might be drinking the sap of the Erdtree. I bet the disciples of the Golden Order lured people into accepting the Erdtree's blessing with the promises of endless life, protection from disease, and great strength, but once they accepted their blessing, they forfeited their ability to challenge the Golden Order. Theory 4, Mikla is going to end up being good. Right now, I think a lot of people are leaning towards the idea that Mikla is going to be something of a twist villain. People in game really seem to like him, but what's little that's actually known about him suggests that he has at least the power to compel people to love him. And also, having a truly kind character who's in any position of power just doesn't really jive with this game's themes. So, having a character that pretends to be good but is secretly really evil just fits Elden Ring a little bit better. However, I think it would be really interesting if the opposite was true. I can imagine the story being that Mikula really is motivated by kindness and altruism, but those concepts are so foreign to the people of the Lands Between that they assume that it's some kind of magic power that Mikula is using to force people to like him. I can definitely imagine some kind of cult dedicated to Mikula or St. Trina trying to reverse engineer the incantations or sorceries used to control people's will, but never understanding why their attempts aren't able to achieve the level of success that Mikula had. I definitely think there will be some kind of dark or tragic element at the end of Mikula's quest, but I'll talk about that when I get to the end of the video. Theory 5. The outer gods are amber stars. So this is a theory that's been kind of floated around on the internet for a while, but I'd still like to give my thoughts on it. The Amber Starlight Shard, which is very heavily implied to be Miquella's physical fate, says that in the past, regular people had their fate controlled by stars, but gods had their fate controlled by amber stars. And given the Elden Ring's ability to control fate, especially destined death, as well as the Elden Star's incantation, it's not a big leap to assume that the greater will is an amber star. Something that I haven't seen talked about before is that all magic that relates to the outer gods has an amber or warm color palette, lots of scarlets and reds, oranges and yellows, while glintstone magic has the cool color palette of green, blue, and purple. Magic that involves neither is either gray or brown, and magic that involves both, which at this point is only the ancient death sorceries, is white to symbolize a combination of the warm and the cool color palettes. Theory 6. Miquella's Affliction. The source of Miquella's Affliction is never explained in-game, but we might be able to use the color palette from the last theory in order to figure it out. He's associated with quite a few colors, so we'll go through them one by one. Unalloyed gold is a dull yellow, which means that he likes the idea and the powers associated with the greater will, but he doesn't like its influence on fate. This is something that's explicitly mentioned through item descriptions in the base game. And he seems to have given up on unalloyed gold when he went to the Shadowlands. His St. Trina colors waffle a bit between pink and purple, which is right on the cusp of the warm and cold color palette, and I think that this might be intentional to keep the origin of these powers mysterious. In general, the more magic bits of his power are pink, while the more mundane stuff is purple. Maybe this is an amber star that's recently woken up from being a regular star, so it's in a bit of a liminal or transitional state. That might explain the sleep and dream powers as well as the eternal childhood. The trailer suggests that these colors are related to fate, but also that Miquella left them behind. And finally, Miquella's butterfly has translucent wings, which is the absence of color. And since Miquella seems to be in a habit of trying to get rid of fate, maybe he finally succeeded and he is the only person in the Lands Between that truly has free will, not controlled by anything. And finally, number 7, Miquella's quest. So what is Miquella's quest/story going to be? This is going to be the most speculative part of the video, and if I get at least some of these right, I'm going to be pretty happy. First, I think that Miquella went to the Shadowlands to get rid of his fate. He gets rid of his St. Trina fate, but doesn't destroy the flesh like Randy did, so it becomes kind of like a fingerprint Vike situation where there are two versions of the same person with different fates running around, and I don't think it's going to be explained how that's possible. I think that at least one of Miquella's followers is going to assume that Miquella has mind control powers or some other kind of power that he doesn't actually have, and that's going to lead to their downfall in some way. And I think that Miquella's ultimate goal is going to become the Lord of Shadow, or some kind of leader in the Shadowlands, which is going to end up being kind of a counterpart to the Elden Lord. And it's going to be sort of like the Age of Darkness in Dark Souls, where it's kind of scary and it's not super clear what it really entails, but ultimately something that needs to happen. But I also think that, like Dark Souls, the player can deny Miquella that ending somehow. And those are my 7 theories. I feel like probably at least one of them is going to come true. Do you have a theory that you want to see confirmed, or did you think that these are accurate? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you.